So we've been working hard on this project, trying to get it all ready to send out to production. In this next video, we're going to learn what to do when we're ready to create that work order. There's a few steps that we want to go through just to make sure that we have everything just right. So why don't we go ahead and open up that project and create this next work order. So now we're ready for the next phase of this new kitchen project. We can either use this work order to send out to production or just for an initial takeoff of material and hardware. Either way, the steps are going to be the same regardless. So obviously the first thing before doing this would be spending the time and going through your project properties to make sure that you have your spec group set up properly. You've got to make sure you got all the material assigned to the correct pointer names or pointer groups. And also you want to make sure that your material thickness in Toolbox is matching up with the actual material that's being used for production. Now, trust me, I have some experience dealing with some thickness issues in the shop, and it's not good. There could potentially be a lot of rework. So double check your material thickness. Now, not only in your project, but also at the library level. The stock material that you're using in the shop should have the exact thickness set up inside of Toolbox or inside of your template. We're going to go over 3 different ways that you can create a work order. Now, the first way is to create a work order through the list. Now, this is a list of all your projects inside of Toolbox. And then once you find your project, selecting the room will select all the products inside of that room. You select the entire project, obviously all the rooms inside of it will be selected. So you can go through and turn off all the different products that you want to have included in this work order. Once you have everything selected, go to the Configure Name button and give this work order a name. And now back into our drawing. This way is going to be going through the product list. Now, I like doing it this way because you have this special feature in here called the Parts List Review. So this is saving you a step before you have to actually create a work order. You can get a glimpse of what it's going to look like by reviewing all the parts. By selecting the entire list, you can review everything that's going to be a part of that work order. Now we got that error message because the molding that's inside of the project obviously isn't going to get nested because there's no material for it. This interface looks basically just like our processing center. The same options that you can filter the material or parts. You can also change your grid settings by right-clicking in this open area. Now you can also set up some saved views from here as well. So if we're happy with everything in this list, we can create a work order directly from here. Select it from the entire list or just from the selected products. Now the third way to do it is going into the actual drawing itself and creating a work order from there. This isn't really my preferred way. I'd be lying to you if I told you I never did it this way because this was the way I always did it in the past. But after learning about the cool little things you can do in the product list, my views changed a little bit. The reason for that is because inside of the drawing, in case something were to happen to the product or the item number itself just isn't in the drawing, because we want to create a work order using the window and we're picking up those item numbers, if it's not there, it's not going to pick up that product. Not that you can't do it that way, but just something to think about. Now let's go back into the product list, and I want to show you one other thing that we can do before we create this work order. So if there's any changes that have been made inside of your project properties, what you can do in here is update all those properties inside of your product without having to actually redraw them in your drawing. Selecting on a product and right-clicking, and now edit product list. At the bottom, you'll find rebuild product list. Now if there's any changes, it'll update here. So if we want to, we can create a work order from the entire product list and everything will be included, even that molding, because we want it to be a part of the report. It's not going to be actually processed for production, but it will show up on a report if it's in this work order. Or just highlight the products that you want to have inside of this work order. So this way, if you don't want that molding or that refrigerator to show up, it won't. Again, back to the naming convention of your work order. This is pretty important. Come up with a good naming convention that works best for you and your company. I typically would just do like the company name and maybe the project name and then a work order number, but whatever suits you. After you've done that, hit the process button and Toolbox will start creating a work order for all those parts to be processed. And this is the processing center. And here you have the option to filter it by material, product name, room number, spec groups, all kinds of different things. Also, just like inside of the parts list review that we saw in the product list, you have the option to change the grid view settings by right-clicking in that gray area. The project name shows all the different projects that are included inside of this work order. So if there's more than just one, you'd see it in this column here. Going into the General tab at the top, you can also load up this processing center different ways. Currently, it's set up to load up all the parts that are included in the products. If you wanted to reload this processing center with just specific material, you can do that by just checking that box beside that material. You do have the option to change that default setting inside of your Toolbox set. Down here, we have our processing stations, where you'll find the different nest settings and tool files associated to those stations. You also have the option to make any edits to these stations while we're in here too. but we want to get a work order going. So select the station that you want to use. Once they've been selected, assign that station to the selected parts. You'll notice there that we have the column of each processing station. So that X indicates what parts are going to that processing station. If you wanted to have more than one, so for example, if we needed some H boring going on, just hold down Control and select that second processing station and assign that station to those selected parts. Now, if you're sure that we don't need any of these parts to go to the H-bore processing station, we can just turn that off by clearing the selected station from those assigned parts. Now, by doing that, those parts are only going to go to our default nest processing station. So the next step is to hit that process button and let Toolbox start creating code that we can send out to the machines. As it's going through all the parts, it's going to find some that may have some phase 6 machining going on that doesn't have any phase 5. So we have the option to flip that during processing, letting us know that there's no perfect grain container for this material that doesn't have any grain. So, okay, cool, thank you. Now that we got our processing complete, the next thing I'd like to do is open up that drawing and take a look at our nested sheets. I currently have it set up by default to have just one composite drawing and not one for each selected material. So as I open up this DWG, we'll get to see all our nested sheets. Just going through some more material. There's some 1/4 inch, and now onto some white melamine. Here we have that custom part that we created in a tall cabinet. As we zoom in here, you'll notice that we have some machining operations going on. That green squiggly line thing, that's our phase 5 machining. So anything in green is phase 5, anything in red is phase 6. Those holes, that's phase 6 machining. We're not going to be able to reach those holes on the back side as it's nested, right? So this becomes a phase 6 part. We're going to do phase 5 machining first, take that part off, and then run our single part phase 6 after everything's done. Now, a little bit about part flipping. Let's just say this little squiggly green line wasn't there. So that means there would be no phase 5 machining, and it would only have phase 6. This could be a part that would be flipped during processing. It says, I don't find any phase 5, but I do find phase 6. Can I just flip it? And that way the drill is going to be able to do what we need as it's nested on this sheet. Hopefully that makes sense. Now we're going to go back into the processing center. If you haven't closed it, it should still be an open window, maybe behind the icon in your taskbar. If you did, then no problem. You just have to open it up this way. Under the Edit Work Order list, find that most current work order. You can double click or hit OK. And now we're back in the processing center, and I wanted to show you another way that we can preview some of these nested sheets and also check out the G-code results. Selecting on that material that you want to see, and there's a preview of our composite drawing that we just looked at, and into the G-code results. Now, if you know how to read G-code, then that might mean something to you, but it really doesn't matter. Your machine knows how to read it. So once that code's created, the next thing that we need to do is go into our reports and print something out for the shop. So under the General tab, Reports, go to Print Reports, and here you can see the list of reports that we have inside of Toolbox. This one here is the Nesting Optimization Report, which is basically the cut list that your CNC operator is going to use. Now that, of course, is if you nest everything onto a machine like this. If you do, then you have this report that shows all the different parts, the information. If you happen to have a barcode scanner at the machine, you have your barcode on there, and you can customize this report any way you want. We have the tool called Report Designer inside of Toolbox that allows you to become the designer of these reports. So any other information that you want to see on here or information that you don't want can be removed. As we scroll through all the different material, there's that part that we customized for the tall wall oven cabinet. Now you'll notice on the report that we're only seeing the phase 5 machining and not those phase 6 holes. And this is just because we're only showing what the machine is actually going to do when it's nested on phase 5. Since those holes were on phase 6, that part's going to come off after the fact and run that single part phase 6 file. As you run those single parts, your CNC operator might ask where we can find those phase 6 files. So going back into the processing center, under the General tab, and now into the Browse Work Order folder, this will take you directly into that work order. Just select on that material that has some of those phase 6 parts, open that up, and those are the phase 6 files. You'll see on this sheet that we actually have 4 parts that are going to require phase 6 machining. And the phase 5 G-code is also in there, so just another way that you can take a look at those G-code results. Now another report that I want to show you before we end this video is the Work Order Summary Report. Now this is a great one if you're going to be doing any purchasing for these projects. This will give you all the totals that you'll need, whether it be sheet goods, hardware, even if there was anything that you needed to buy out from another vendor, everything's inside of this report. Now that we have this work order complete, all the parts have been processed and that G-code's been created, it's time to let our team know that we got another project to build. So that'll do it for me. Keep thinking big and building extraordinary things with these using Microvellum Toolbox. We'll see you next time.